I would never date a black girl. Black girls are just ugly. You're black. How can you not say? The hair is like a Brillo pad. You're pretty for a dark-skinned girl. Pennsylvania. The previous statements are all geared towards black women. Growing up in America, being African American and a woman is one of the hardest circumstances for an American. First of all, you're a woman, so you're already made to feel lesser than the man. Yes, I know we are in the 21st century, but women are still recovering from the discrimination we faced for most of the last century. In 1920, women just received the full right to vote anywhere in the United States. Dating back to the middle of the 19th century, we had women like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton fighting for women's rights. Even today, you can still say that women, in general, not adding race, do not receive equality. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 is supposed to make it illegal for anyone to make less money than another due to discrimination. But oddly enough, women still make about 23 to 30 cents less for every dollar a man makes. While when you factor in being a woman of color in the workforce, you can expect to make even less. According to recent studies, the average woman of color makes 55 to 64 cents for every dollar a non-Hispanic or white man makes. That is just in the working environment. A woman of color goes through social prejudice on a daily basis. In stores, schools, basically anywhere, if you're an African American woman, you can expect for people to assume stereotypes about you. As anyone would do for any race, that is to be expected. It becomes a problem when those are negative connotations on someone who you know absolutely nothing about. African American women are one of the strongest groups of women to ever walk the earth. It is not only about being a woman. Even before the end of slavery, African American people had to prove their worth and that they were just as good as any race. The Jim Crow laws, which was a series of laws that were put in place to keep African Americans segregated and from prospering in America, included laws like never comment negatively on a white person. You are not to laugh nervously at a white person. Signs like whites only, no coloreds allowed, grace the nation. So we as a people are still recovering from the previous view that was instilled in the eyes of other races. These views gave everyone in a different race the mindset that they were superior to African Americans. It is still the way some people view us. So let's put it all together. A woman considered to be lesser than the man, then throw in being African American, and you are now one of the most underestimated human beings to live in this country. So one can only assume the toll it takes on the African American woman. The typical African American woman has strong curves, large facial features, darker pigmentation, thick, coarse hair. In the year 2007, 347,524 women had gotten breast implants, and 10,000 butt enhancements were performed just last year. In the past 12 months alone, 18.1% of women went tanning. A whopping 289,016 women have gotten plastic surgery to change their lips. These women will change their faces with plastic surgery and just happen to look like that of the African American woman with full lips and strong facial features. Plastic surgery just last year, 6% of them were African American. With racism, you would think with racism and white supremacy with the media that white people would try to look as far as away as possible as the African American woman. But it's weird because they seem to be moving closer to the look of the African American woman. The bigger lips, the breast implants, the butt enhancements, because naturally African American women have darker pigmentation, tanning, larger breasts, breast implants, strong thighs, bigger legs, bigger butts, butt implants. So there was literally a study done by a scientist in Asia by the name of Satoshi Kanazawa saying that black women were the ugliest of women. He literally published his study to say that African American women or black women were the least attractive of all the women. It just shows how African American women are never given credit for their beauty. Before Miss Octavia Spencer won an Academy Award for her role in The Help, it had been 3 years since a woman or man of color had won any award from the Academy. The film industry has a funny way of only awarding African American women for roles that depict them in a negative light. Halle Berry won an award for her role in Monsters Ball, but she played a prostitute. This year, Lupita Nyong'o won for being a slave fancied by her master. This is not just recently that black women have been winning awards for such roles. The very first person of color to win an Academy Award was Hattie McDaniel, and she won for playing the loyal maid in Gone with the Wind. All of this is not by mistake, in my opinion. The film industry will recognize African American women for good roles, but will only award them for playing bad ones. For the African American woman's confidence, this can take a huge toll. It begins to seep in the minds of young girls who are watching these movies and watching these award shows, showing them that people of other races will not award you for the talent the way you show your talent in a positive light, but only if you do it in a negative way. All my previous examples have included negativity from outside forces. The thing that hits home the most is the fact that African American women have to deal with the judgment of the people in their own home, in their own families. Within the African American race, there are divisions. Light skin versus dark skin, long hair versus short hair, loose curls versus tight, kinky ones. In the documentary Dark Girls, multiple women share heartbreaking stories of how they were teased from the people who are actually African American. This stemmed from times of slavery when the lighter-skinned slaves got to work in the house, while the darker-skinned slaves had to work out in the fields. A slave owner from 300 years ago named Willie Lynch wrote a letter saying exactly this: to keep the slaves divided, keep the lighter-skinned ones over here, keep the darker-skinned ones over here. And still today, African Americans are still trying to recover from that division because we still are dividing amongst ourselves, even though in other races they don't see, oh, she's lighter skinned, she's darker skinned. Today they just see you as African American. They just see you as black. Constantly. In the documentary Good Hair, Chris Rock further explores the good hair epidemic. White superiority in the media and in society. And white women have long, straight, greasy, soft hair, and African American women tend to have thick, curly, coarse, dry hair. It makes African American women reject what naturally comes out of their scalp, and they are made to feel that that is wrong because the media only portrays white women. This connects with hitting home is there has been instances where people in my family will judge me negatively if I do not choose to straighten my hair or go natural. If we are not to feel comfort around family, then who? I mean, the one group of people who are supposed to know how you feel and want to help are the same ones contributing to the pain. Just as many, if not more, slaves than whites within a town. That meant that if slaves wanted to, they could stand up together and fight back. The reason they did not fight back was because of the fear of individual death. When a slave master would beat or lynch a slave, most likely for something minuscule, it would be in front of all the slaves. The master would do so in front of all the other slaves as sort of a warning. Anyone who tried to help the slave would be beaten worse or killed. Then it was whoever kept their mouth shut and worried about their own fate and helped the slave master catch who tried to run away or catch the person who apparently did something wrong. They were rewarded. So it's like it's building a mentality in the African American people that, oh, if I help him stay down, I'm going to prosper, I'm going to strive, and I'm going to get up. But it's exactly the opposite. It's sort of a crabs in a barrel mentality. It not only divides the race from within, it shows other races that if we cannot get along with each other, then why should they try? In all honesty, African American people have the potential to do great things. If we all can sort of reverse the inferiority thought that everyone has against the African American race. A wise woman once said that when a hand is open and all the fingers are separated, it can make a powerful slap. But when all the fingers come together into a fist, it can be an unstoppable force.